Stability is what investors do not want to see all the time when they invest in a country. So just want to understand, of course, right now, Thailand's politics is a little bit destabilizing at this point. So how would you think about the political landscape change in Thailand will affect the trade between Malaysia and Thailand?
I did arrive at a very impeccable timing in terms of what's happening politically in Thailand, and I'm here together with my team as part of our trade and investment mission, and as a follow-up from our joint trade committee meeting with my counterpart, who's now the acting Prime Minister. So what has happened, I think when we met up many companies from Thailand, I think at least 16 companies from Thailand who have interests in investments and trade with Malaysia. The companies and Malaysian investors and Malaysian companies are also watching what's happening politically here in Thailand very closely. But from what our understanding from the public information that we get from the public domain, we are watching closely, but at the same time, it is still the same government, right? We have been very close with Thailand, with this government.
We are in an era of friendshore and move all the global supply chain to the alliances too. And part of the foreign direct investment might choose ASEAN, but no matter which country they would choose, the preferable country to put their new investment in. Of course, you talk about ASEAN chairmanship. Next year is Malaysia's term. So just want to understand how to drive Southeast Asia and ASEAN's economy in a way that Malaysia will be the lead next year. You talk about 3 mega trends, so I will let you talk about it.
If we look at ASEAN today, our GDP is close to $3.8 trillion. That makes us the 5th largest economic bloc. But we're growing, and we're growing at a rate of 4 to 5% in terms of GDP growth. You're right just now in your statement that we are seeing friendshoring, reshoring, and onshoring as companies then look at what are the de-risking views of globally. Right? So they will choose. ASEAN has been a net beneficiary of that inflows. Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore, Vietnam, all will need to use this window, and we work together. I don't believe it's a zero-sum game. So everyone can work together and make ASEAN as an attractive bloc. So those 3 mega trends I mentioned just now, one is the geopolitics, what's happening. One cannot deny the fact that US and China are major economies in the world. I mean, between the two of them, the combination of both GDP is close to 45% of the total world GDP today, right? And then the second trend that I think we need to be very careful is on the, environment. We're talking about climate change.
Climate change.
A lot of concerns. Net zero target. Everybody's having net zero target. As companies prepared for it, right? Even access to markets going forward, especially in the Western market, the EU, they all are imposing standards that is required by companies to access their market. And finally, I think the one that you mentioned about digital, I think that's important.
Malaysia is not the only one aiming to become the hub in ASEAN. So just want to understand, of course, I have to mention Vietnam, our neighboring country here in ASEAN. So just want to understand how to, of course, what's your strategy? Of course, you want to become the hub, the main hub. Vietnam is here, it's approaching, it's catching up to all the local talented development you mentioned about is that the Malaysian government should focus on at this point, because Vietnam, they have the same policy too. How would you see the power game here?
Yeah, I think, one must also admit that healthy competition is also good for the industries and for markets, and at the end of the day for consumers, for the people. So for Malaysia, we recently launched the National Semiconductor Strategy. It's a plan, it's a 25 billion ringgit plan to operationalize our strategy, to improve where we are in terms of our economic complexity when it comes to semiconductor. We're doing a lot of back end now, especially OSAT, assembly and testing. We're moving more towards IC design and also advanced packaging. We've been in this industry for more than 50 years, in the 1970s. And Vietnam is also there, you're right, growing as well. And Singapore, don't forget, also quite advanced in semiconductor. And what we see is that, when there are investment flows that go to Vietnam in certain sectors, we also do get to see some of that, right? Because the whole, you mentioned about supply chain. So that supply chain sometimes, because they need something from Malaysia, they open in Vietnam.
Tesla,
Yes.
The US giant EV company, of course, you say that they never committed to establishing factory in Malaysia, but of course this is an index to see how Tesla would plan to strategize its plans in ASEAN. So any update right now? Does the reluctance show that result from Chinese EV competitivity in Malaysia? This is why Tesla might not come to Malaysia at the end.
We give good incentives, so we've given that to Tesla, right? But with the commitment that they have to do their fast charging, their headquarters, their training centers, their collaboration with universities, their R&D. So they have done all that, but they have not. So we are hoping that by building that closer collaboration, the next step will be that. But then we read news, but we are not sure. We have not heard from the company itself, to be fair. So I am meeting the Tesla next week. They're coming to Malaysia, and they will share with me more about what we heard in the news. So far, we have not gotten official. In fact, if you look at in the news until today, Tesla itself has not made any official statement yet.